There have been a lot of changes at Etsy in the last year, and if you're a print-on-demand seller or if you're starting a print-on-demand business selling on Etsy, it can be a little confusing to determine what has changed in terms of things that you can and can't do at this point. So in this video, we're going to talk about 5 important do's and don'ts, whether you are new to selling print on demand or even if you're an established seller, to make sure you're staying compliant with Etsy policies and maximizing your sales opportunities. These won't just be rules you have to follow, but also some best practices. So let's get into it. All right, we're just going to dive right in here. Number 1 on the list is print on demand allowed on Etsy? Yes, I wanted to mention this because sometimes in the past, newer sellers would ask this question and the answer was basically yes, because we're not specifically excluded by Etsy policies. But as of 2024, print on demand selling is actually exclusively called out as acceptable in Etsy's policies. Specifically, Etsy created new categories of products that can be sold on the platform earlier this year, which include a category called Designed by a Seller, which is defined as original designs by a seller or seller-prompted AI art offered as a digital download or produced and printed by a third party. That definition describes print on demand, where we, the seller, create a design and then a third-party company prints the design on our products. You do, however, have to disclose your production partners, and that also is stated in Etsy's policies, but that part's not new. So we still need to make sure that our production partners are called out on our listings by going into the core details section of our listings and adding the production partner whenever we publish a new listing. You can edit production partners for multiple listings by using the bulk listing editor on the listings page if you have a bunch of existing listings where you haven't added the production partner, or if you just need to change it. Number 2, can I use AI image generators for my designs? Yes, as we saw in the definition of the Designed by a Seller category, you can use AI in your designs. However, Etsy's policies have been updated in 2024, and it now specifically states that you have to disclose AI usage in your listings. If you use AI to generate some or all of your design, your listing description needs to disclose that. Now, I personally use Kiddle AI to generate some elements for my designs, and I've started adding this statement to those listings. If you have a lot of existing listings where you used AI for the design, this is another thing you can use the bulk listing editor for on your listings page. Select Edit the Description, then select Add to End, and then paste in that disclosure, and it will add it to the end of the description for all of the listings that you selected. That way you don't have to do it one at a time. Number 3, can I use pre-made graphics in my designs? Again, yes. However, you cannot just slap a finished design that someone else made on your product. You have to create a design that came from you, not someone else. Now, this was always a good idea, but now it is in Etsy's policies under the description of what qualifies as designed by a seller. Etsy also gives examples of what does not qualify for this category, including this statement: using a pre-existing design or choosing from a production partner's ready-made templates, except in the case of items personalized by a buyer, which fit into the sourced by a seller category. So unless it's a personalized design, the design cannot be pre-existing. For example, I cannot go to Creative Fabrica or Vexels and just grab one of these finished designs, put it on a t-shirt, and offer it for sale on Etsy. If I do that, I will be in violation of Etsy's policies. But that does not mean that you can no longer use those resources for your business. Both Creative Fabrica and Vexels offer huge libraries of design elements that you can incorporate into a finished design that you make, and that is totally acceptable. Same thing goes for Canva. You can even take one of the finished designs and make alterations to it so that it becomes a unique design that only you have. For example, maybe you like the central image in a design that's already finished, so you just crop out everything else and then add your own design elements and text, so the finished design is significantly different than the pre-made one. So you have to do this in order to stay out of trouble on Etsy. But actually, as I mentioned, this was always a good idea, and it's really not a big deal. I've been saying this for years at this point. If you do just put a finished design from one of those sites on your products, there's nothing differentiating your product listings from other sellers who are doing the same thing. At that point, it just becomes a price competition, and that's not good for us. That's bad for sellers. If we only compete on price, all we're doing is reducing our profit margins. It's better to compete by offering unique designs that give consumers a choice that is not based on price. Number 4, can I use mockups for print-on-demand listings on Etsy? Yes. The big takeaway is yes, but it needs to be an accurate representation of the finished product that you are selling. Now, I have a separate video about mockups that I made a couple months ago, so I'm not going to go into super detail here. I will link to that video in the description if you haven't seen it. But a quick and simple example would be if you're selling unisex t-shirts and you don't offer any other fit, no youth sizes, no women's specific fit, just unisex. But then in your mockups, you use a mockup image of a woman wearing a t-shirt that's obviously a women's cut t-shirt with shorter, tighter sleeves and a more fitted look. That is not an accurate representation of the product that you're selling because it's not a unisex t-shirt. So just make sure you're using appropriate mockups for whatever the product is that you're selling. Now, there are two more specific details about mockups that did change this year, so let's talk about those. First, if you are selling personalized products, you can no longer use images in your primary thumbnail that show a design mockup like your image here or your text here. You can still use those images, but it cannot be the primary thumbnail. Your primary thumbnail needs to be an example of the actual finished customized design. And that is stated specifically in Etsy's policies. That's something you want to go and change if you have that in your shop. The second specific update that occurred this year with regard to mockup guidelines is when you sell a product that has multiple sides, like different angles you want to show or different design options in the same listing. Etsy does not want you to use a collage image as the primary thumbnail. So previously you may have used a collage image, like a collection of 4 or even just 2 side-by-side images to show customers the front and back of a product, multiple angles of it, or just the fact that you can get different design options on that product. Etsy does not want you to do that anymore. They want your product image to be basically just a single image as the primary thumbnail. You can still use collage images in the additional listing images, but just not in that primary thumbnail. So what can you do to still convey that there's more information to see if you're only allowed to really use a single image as your primary thumbnail? Well, the easiest and fastest adjustment to make is to start using more text in your primary thumbnail. Just throw some text in there to encourage them to click on that listing to see more. There's a couple various ways that you can do that, but basically, that's what I'm doing on any listings where I have this situation. All right, number 5, what impacts my search rankings now, and are there things I need to avoid doing to prevent hurting my search rankings? Yes, there's definitely a lot going on in this space this year. First of all, don't set your shipping prices above $6 for common lightweight items. Etsy says some products are exempt from this new rule that just went into effect in October of 2024, where they are going to prioritize search results that have shipping prices up to $6. And if you have a shipping price over $6, they're not going to prioritize your listings in search results. As far as I have seen, Etsy has not come out and been more specific about which types of products are exempt from this particular new requirement, but I personally think it is safe to assume that they are not going to enforce this on bulky items, heavy items, things that Etsy knows are categories of products that have high shipping costs. So think about, like, if you're selling framed prints, like a framed canvas or a large canvas artwork, those types of product categories likely are not having this rule enforced because Etsy knows the shipping prices on these things are just higher. So I don't think you need to rush to drop your shipping prices on big, heavy items like that. But for example, if you were charging $7 to ship your t-shirts, I would recommend dropping that to $5 or $6 and then adjust your product price to balance it out so that you're not being penalized in search results. All right, the second thing to be aware of here that has become more transparent in 2024 is meeting the Etsy customer service standards. They now show it to you in a couple places in your shop. The easiest place to see whether you have any high-level impact to your search ranking is the search visibility page on your seller dashboard. It will show you here if any of the 3 main categories have issues that are impacting your search ranking. You can also see more details on the customer service stats page, including your results for message response rate, on-time shipping and tracking, average review rating, and case rate. Etsy uses all of this information for 2 purposes. First, determining whether you're meeting the base level of customer service standards, and that does impact your search ranking. And then second, whether you've earned the Star Seller badge for your shop. Star Seller rankings have higher thresholds, and that does not directly impact your search ranking, whether you got it or not. But performing well in all of these areas, it does, in general, have an impact on your search ranking. Another item that I think is worth pointing out as a reminder is that the free shipping guarantee does still have an impact on your search placement. Now that only applies in the US, and if you're opted into the free shipping guarantee, customers get free shipping on any order over $35 in the United States. If you do free shipping on all of your listings anyway, it's kind of a no-brainer because you're already capturing the shipping cost in your product prices, so you might as well opt into the free shipping guarantee and get that little boost in search placement. But if you do charge for shipping on at least some of your listings, then you'll need to consider whether that free shipping guarantee could actually result in any issues for you if customers buy products that you normally charge for shipping, but the order is over $35. And lastly, of course, keyword matching is still going to be the primary way that Etsy matches listings to search results. So yes, you still need to make sure that you're using relevant search phrases for your titles and use all 13 of your tags to get the most search matching potential for your listings. Another thing that hasn't changed is you still don't want to keyword stuff your title to just make it a big mishmash of keywords. You want at least the first thing in your title to be a relevant search phrase that people are likely to actually search for. In other words, use long tail keywords in your title. And then when it comes to your tags, you don't need to repeat the type of product that it is and the same keywords multiple times in different combinations because Etsy already does that. Etsy's search algorithm already combines your tags and your title and the beginning of your description in different ways with the search phrases that are being entered. So all of that with regard to keywords is still true. Before we go, I have a sixth item here, a bonus item. What's something else that you still should definitely be doing on Etsy? Don't forget to use your share and save links anywhere off the Etsy platform where you share links to your store or specific listings. For example, if you have social media accounts for your shop where you share updates on new listings and things like that, if you send emails to a subscriber list, anywhere that's not on Etsy where you are sharing links to your shop or your listings, use share and save links and you'll save on Etsy seller fees for any sales that come through those links. Now, it does not apply to links that you share directly on Etsy. So if you send a link to a customer through Etsy messages, or if you link to another product in a listing description, which you should do that, by the way, it does not count towards share and save. But anywhere off of Etsy where you use a link to an individual product or to your shop in general, you can use a share and save link. You can find the information on your seller dashboard under the marketing tab. I also did make a separate video about this, so check that out if you haven't seen it. I'll link to it in the description. All right, so that'll do it for this video. Hopefully those things have helped to clarify some of what has changed over the last year at Etsy if you are a print-on-demand seller. Let me know in the description if you think I missed any big items that changed over the last year on Etsy for print-on-demand sellers, and we'll have some conversation about it. Don't forget to subscribe to the POD Insights channel if you haven't. If you have, thank you so much for your support. I really do appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.